y'all, so let's chat. I felt like this would be a good time to talk about anxiety. And the reason I feel that way is because there's been a lot of talk about Summer Walker, who, for anybody that does not know, is a really great R&B singer and musician. I listen to a lot of her stuff. Sis, sis gets it. But she's been in the media a lot more because she just had an album that came out and she went on a tour. So the issue that people are having with the tour is that she is not a performer. After following her on Instagram, what she really tells her fans is the fact that, you know, she loves music, she loves to write, she loves to sing. However, the performance piece or the touring piece has been something that she has never wanted to do because she suffers from social anxiety. So the tour that she was on, she called it her first and last tour because she felt like, you know, this isn't my arena. Like, this isn't something that I like to do. And I think for her, it drains a lot out of her, and she's also the type of person who's big on like energy. So coming into contact, like doing meet and greets, all that other stuff with so many different people, she feels like, you know, it's just a lot for her to take in and for her to adjust. So she's gotten a lot of backlash from her fans because when she does perform, she isn't very enthusiastic, and she recently cut off some of the dates in her tour because she felt like she just couldn't finish the tour because it was just a lot going on. And her mental health was at risk by just trying to continue to do this and fit in this mold that she just feels like she isn't for her. So before I address a lot of the commentary that's been said about Summer Walker's social anxiety, I want to provide a little bit of an education piece on what anxiety is, the different types of anxiety that exist, the more common ones, and how it kind of shows up and manifests differently in people. So I have my handy dandy Bible of Psychology. So I'm just going to give you all like the basic rundown. So before I give you the textbook definition, anxiety in very simple terms is just our body and our brain's fight or flight response to anything that we perceive to be threatening or discomforting. So the textbook definition is pretty much the fact that all anxiety disorders, they share features of this excessive fear and anxiety and related behavioral disturbances. So most of the time the fear is more often associated with surges of atomic arousal necessary for the fight or flight. Thoughts of immediate danger and escape behaviors and anxiety more often associated with muscle tension and vigilance in preparation for future danger and cautious or avoidant behaviors. So essentially, our anxiety is our alarm. Like when we are in situations that we just don't feel either 100% comfortable in, or we think that something might go wrong, our anxiety spikes. It is our brain and our body letting us know that, like, you need to figure something out, move around, do something, because something might pop off and you're getting yourself prepared for that. So what else is here? Anxiety disorders, they differ from developmentally normative fear or anxiety by being excessive. So that makes it everybody, one thing I want to say is everybody experiences some level of anxiety. Now, what causes a person to have an anxiety disorder is when the amount of anxiety is excessive or constantly, or not constantly, but consistently unwarranted. If I'm in the comfort of my own home and everything appears to be good, but I'm still feeling very anxious, that is where there indicates that there is an imbalance in which your body goes into this fight or flight stage. So our anxiety usually develops in childhood. And a lot of times it can come from not having a secure attachment and bond with your caregivers or your parents from a young age, neglect, abandonment, abuse, of course, and just neglectful situations. So again, that's usually where it starts, but that doesn't mean like I have anxiety. I came from a great home, So the science behind it isn't 100% foolproof of how we develop these things, but a part of it is also like hereditary or like genetically, tied, which we know about a lot of mental disorders. Like I know for a fact, like my grandmother is a very anxious person, so it doesn't surprise me that I too have some attributes of that. So there are a lot of different types of anxiety, phobias. One thing that is in here that I think is important since we're focusing on Summer Walker's social anxiety, which is the fact that, social anxiety, the individual is fear or anxious about or avoidant of social interactions and situations that involve the possibility of being scrutinized. These include social interactions such as meeting unfamiliar people, situations in which the individual may be observed eating or drinking, and situations in which the individual performs in front of others. The cognitive ideation is of being negatively evaluated by others by being embarrassed, humiliated, or rejected, or offending others. So that's one thing that Summer Walker has talked about a lot, is in explaining her anxiety, it's not the fact that she wants to feel this way, it's the fact that like when she goes in, she has all these preconceived judgments that she thinks other people are making of her. And so that is like, again, that's where the mental piece comes in, because then the physical part kicks in. Like I think she said when she went to the Soul Train Awards, she was like sweating profusely. So our anxiety also shows up physically. I know for me, my stomach gets to doing a whole bunch of things. Your heart starts beating fast. You may start to sweat, get hot. Chest may start to hurt, things like that. So as far as anxiety goes, there are, of course, separation anxiety disorders, which we typically see in children. We even see separation anxiety in dogs, which I always find interesting, because that just shows that, and for anybody that doesn't know, there are, and I've realized this over the last year, some dogs have an extreme level of anxiety. They even make doggy Xanax now. And a lot of that has to do with like their bond or their attachment to their caregiver and just how the temperament of the animal. So I just want to point that out, that for anybody that doesn't believe anxiety is a real thing, and people, like dogs even have it, animals can have it. So that further shows that this is something that's kind of innate in us, and it results from an imbalance in our brain, the same way kind of depression shows up too. So, generalized anxiety disorder, that is what I have. I talk about, I have no shame in admitting, from a very young age, I had extreme, like, physical responses to any time, like, I thought I was going to be in trouble. Like, it used to eat me up. And as I got older, it started manifesting into other behaviors, like I said, outside of the physical things. But where I saw a lot of my anxiety show up, and I'm not ashamed to admit this, is in my relationships with men. And it was always tied to like this fear of being abandoned or rejected. So I can only talk about this because I'm removed from it, and I'm proud of myself for being removed of it. So what a lot of people don't realize is some of the behaviors that we do are driven by our anxiety. Our impulsivity is driven by our anxiety. So one of the behaviors that I used to do a lot, if I felt like my dude was mad at me or whatever, I'm blowing his phone up. Like my logical brain would be like, Brittany, he don't want to talk to you right now, or he's busy, or you know what I mean? And it wouldn't be warranted. If I felt like I did something and we were into it, that's when that would kick on. So it's like, in my mind, I could say he's mad, give him his space. My logic mind. My anxious mind was like, call him again. Call him again. Call him again. So I constantly had this fight going on between like what I knew logically and what we call like in DBT our wise mind, like the part of our brain that makes good choices and informed decisions and that type of thing. But then there was my anxiety that I didn't know how to manage, so it was just making me do any and everything. Popping up on people, that ain't nothing but anxiety. Okay, so one thing that I found super interesting over the last year, I had a family session with my therapist, and to talk about some of the dynamics between me and my father's relationship. I have a great dad, but there are certain areas in which, since I've grown up, we struggle to find a common ground on. And so, an observation that my therapist made that I didn't realize after my dad left, she said, you know, you thought you got your anxiety from your mom's side of the family, but I think you got it from your dad. And as I thought about it, his symptoms just look different. As I've talked about, you know, in African Americans, or just even the difference between the male, you know, being male or being female, anxiety can look different. So for my dad, his anxiety looks like impulsivity. Like, if he want to get something done, he not going to communicate about it first. He just going to do it and then expect for you to fall in line. And when you don't fall in line, he gets agitated. So for him, it doesn't look like, you know, being extremely nervous, but he, like, I could tell when we were in the session that he was anxious because of the way in which he kind of, like, his demeanor. Like, he seemed a little fidgety, and my dad isn't a man of many words, so he would kind of, like, say what he wanted to say, and then we would kind of challenge that, and then he'd be like, okay. Like, he kind of pulled back. So that's the thing. And anxiety can look different on different people, and what you think should make somebody anxious or not anxious does not matter, like, at the end of the day. Okay, so back to the different types of anxiety, or how anxiety shows up in these different disorders. So the selective mutism, for anybody that's never seen an example of that, it could be a social situation that calls for speaking where a person won't speak, but like they may speak at home. Children usually, there are usually children that struggle with that a lot. Phobias, panic disorders, where for some people they have full-blown like anxiety and panic attacks where they can't control their breathing when they get overwhelmed. Agoraphobia, so being the fear of being like in traffic, people that can't be in small spaces. We just really want to, when it comes to our anxiety, like I said, acknowledge what it is, because a lot of people, they don't realize that the reason that they moving so fast or they doing certain things is because they're anxious about something. And what makes somebody struggle more is when they can't really explain their anxiety. So now I kind of want to, that I've explained what anxiety is, I want to switch gears and address some of these comments that I've been seeing people make about Summer Walker. So, people are having a hard time believing that Summer Walker has social anxiety because she uses social media. And apparently, she used to be a stripper. So, a lot of people are like, well, how did you used to strip and be in front of strangers and let them see you naked, but you are so flustered about performing? Now, I cannot speak for Summer Walker. I will say we don't know the conditions she was under when she was stripping. So a lot of people who struggle with social anxiety, and again, I don't know this to be true that this woman used to strip. This is what I've collected on social media. Or I've seen people say more so. But a lot of people who deal with social anxiety or anxiety in general, they use alcohol or drugs to help them through it. Like, I know I saw a video where she said she didn't smoke because it made her paranoid. But she very well could have been drinking in that part of her life where once you get enough of a substance in you, the inhibitions that you are concerned about go away. So I would not be surprised, and a lot of dancers or, you know, sex workers or whatever, not to put them in the same category, but I'm just saying when it comes to doing a job that you may be uncomfortable doing, it is very likely that she was under the influence. I don't know that to be true. That's just a theory. So when people ask, well, how did you do it? Like, that may have been how she did it. And if she wants to put on a good performance when it comes to something as big as her music career, she's not going to go on stage drunk. So that's just one thing. Another thing that, like I said, that's tied to that is this whole, well, she be on social media twerking and all in the camera. So it is a difference between having a safe space to express yourself and being in front of people doing that same thing. So I know that again, that's hard for a lot of people to conceptualize. However, that is why she's so in and out of social media. Like most of the time, she's cutting the comments off on her pictures because she doesn't want to engage with people's judgments. Like that's the root of her anxiety is like what she thinks that people are thinking of her and feeling humiliated by that. So I know it seems far-fetched, but yes, I'm not going to say that y'all need to be discrediting this girl's social anxiety because you see her being active on social media. One thing that we need to realize that people try to use to like shame somebody is this whole idea of being one way online and being another way in person. Like, well, you should keep that same energy. When it comes to people, they don't, right? So while it seems like we should be consistent across the board, when we are dealing with mental health issues, it doesn't really work the same. So that is why you will see somebody talking big shit online, and then you talk about it in person, and they tell it. Because what we're forgetting is online provides us with a barrier, right? So we feel much more confident knowing that we can do something, and there isn't anybody to check us in that moment, or there's no imminent danger because we're doing this over the internet versus doing it in person. I think that that's just a part of, that's a character flaw that is a part of human nature. That people who deal with anxiety, they can hide behind a keyboard and do what they need to do. There's a whole population of people whose social lives only exist online because of how they feel about being in front of other people. So I'm telling people to not let the online thing take them too far into thinking that this isn't real, because she's doing all of this in a safe space just for her, not for everybody else. So, also people are saying like, you signed up for this when you wanted to be an artist. Now, we just don't know what Summer Walker's initial intent was when she started making music. Who's to say that she wanted to be famous? Like, I think people get really entitled about how they think people are supposed to behave just based on what they do for a living. It's like thinking, okay, well, because you're famous, you're supposed to be a role model. Like, no, you can't put that on people. They didn't necessarily choose that. That's the thing about, like, wealth or fame. The wealth part, you have to work at. Being rich, making money, getting in your bag, you have to work at that piece. The wealth piece, the fame piece comes when whatever you're doing starts to take off. Now, there are a bunch of wealthy people who are not famous. However, if you have a product or a service that involves people hearing your voice, then you don't really have that choice. So she could have stayed anonymous, but a part of her, and of course other people, have probably tried to help her break out of her shell and not give in so much to her anxiety that it stops her from being great and taking her stuff to the next level. Now, a part of why, like, I hate the whole, like, people are pretty much saying that, like, they don't believe her. They think, she's doing it for attention or whatever. Is like, this girl just canceled hella shows on her tour. She's about to lose money. Why cut your bag? Like, why cut into your money if this isn't something that's legit to you? Like, why half-ass it, So, I do think that she probably has contracts in place because people are like, well, why would you agree to go? Why would you agree to do a tour if that's how you're going to be? And my thing is, we're not going to act like artists have complete autonomy in everything that they do when it comes to their career or taking their career to the next level. So we don't know what things were in place. However, I bet you she learns from this and she starts to honor her limits. And that's what she did by canceling some of her dates, because she realized, like, yeah, this is a lot and I'm not prepared to go the rest of it. So I think people are just kind of thinking of themselves and being selfish, where it's like, you could finish it, you could do it. Like, I think that when situations like this come to light, it just reinforces the fact that the black community, I love y'all, and my alarm went off, my bad, but I just feel like we go through this fake, let's be about mental health until it's really time to be about mental health. Like, wasn't nobody paying really no attention to Summer Walker before she started Dave London on the track and before she put out her last album. So the fact that now she's getting all of this attention, yes, that changes things. Cardi B talks about the same thing, how like you go from just kind of having a certain level of attention and then that skyrockets. And then it makes a huge difference in what you are willing to deal with. But like this whole questioning people and, you know, just say you don't understand. That's fine. Like, it's okay to not understand something, but to sit here and like bash this girl, she be trying to mind her business and take her little awkward self to do what she needs to do. And I think it's sad that she's getting bashed for being vocal about what it is that she deals with. Because for anybody who hasn't seen it, she did an interview. Now the interview, and see, this is the difference. So she's done 2 interviews that I've seen. One interview she did, I can't remember who it was with, but they were asking her a bunch of questions. And she was answering them like very awkwardly, like, no, yes, like real dry. And that's when people really start kind of talking about her demeanor, like, why she act like that? Why she be like that? And she had on this tight-ass corset that people thought she couldn't breathe. But she ended up saying she could breathe, and she doesn't like to really do interviews. So, to compare, when she interviewed with Ari Lennox, they were vibing. Like, it definitely wasn't the same awkward Summer that we saw in that first interview. So that in itself shows you how important the safe space is. There is a safe space that exists with her communicating with Ari Lennox, and people just happen to be filming it. Versus feeling like all of this attention is strictly on you, and it's something that you don't feel like you're in a safe space to really kind of enjoy. So, again, I'm not making justifications for homegirl. I'm just providing potential explanations for the things that people seem to just not be understanding. But I want everybody to stop. Like, if you're not going to be on the mental health train for real, then get off. Like, stop trying to, like, fake support and talk about how important it is. Now, I will say, and I tell my clients this, sometimes when we deal with mental health issues, we can start to adopt them as a crutch. And so I think that, like the people saying, you know, why did you even go tour? It's like, would y'all have rather her not tried? You know, and I know she's done other shows, but would you have rather her just let the anxiety win? Because that's what we try, that's what, like, I work with clients on, is like, how do we have these feelings and still go do what we need to do? Because we can have anxiety or we can feel depressed and we can still make the decision to go and take care of our business, and that stops us from feeding the anxiety or the depression and making it bigger because we're not giving it what it wants. So to me, that's like y'all saying, like, you don't try. So I commend her for trying and, you know, saying, well, we'll see how this goes. So I think that makes a difference. However, I think the only reason so much of the talk about her social anxiety is in the media is because people keep commenting on it, so she keeps addressing it. Like, nobody was kind of talking about this until she started getting dragged for her interviews and her shows. Then she has to come out and kind of like let people know, yeah, I struggle, that's why I act this way. And so as people continue to make comments, she feels like she has to continuously, you know, defend herself or explain herself and continue to kind of like be an advocate now that it's out there. And I think people forget how young, you know, she is. Like, she's definitely, I think, only 23, 24 years old. So I think being that I'm 27, when I think about where I was at 23, 24, and it wasn't that long ago, but it was a different space. Like, you just not as secure in yourself. And I don't care how much notoriety or money you get in, where that don't change that. So I encourage everybody to think back, you know, especially if you're older, like, think back to when you was 23, 24. You didn't always have the answer. So I think it's odd that y'all would just expect people like her, Ari, They've been talking about Meg Thee Stallion and who she dating and who she messing with. Like, y'all expected them to have all the answers. They are young. I know it's hard to, like, I think it's hard for, like, millennials to conceptualize, especially, you know, the ones that are, like, in their late 20s, early 30s, to conceptualize that a lot of these popping people are super young right now. Like, they not in our age bracket. They a little, you know, younger than that. So think about that shit that happens in your 20s and into your 30s, because the shit that should happen, and how much different you are at the later part of that age bracket versus like the beginning or headed towards the middle. A lot changed. If it hasn't, I'm sorry for you, but I know a lot changed for me. How I move, what I do, and that's continuing to evolve. So cut people some slack. Like, you just don't have nothing nice to say. Don't say it all like y'all think that celebrities have feelings. I don't know when y'all forgot that, but they do. So stop adding to the stigma by tearing people down or celebs down or making, you know, goofy comments when they come out and tell you that they have a mental health issue. Because you are a part of the problem. So, I will end this video. If you suffer from anxiety and you need some ideas, coping skills, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The sense game. So look for something you see, smell, something you can taste. Find something to activate all your senses. Deep breathing, huge one for me. Therapy, that's how I got my anxiety under control. Boundaries, when you put boundaries in place, that's my favorite word, you're less likely to have people around you that trigger your anxiety. That was a big one for me. I do so much to protect my anxiety from being triggered, and a lot of that is me deciding what situations I am and am not going to deal with, or cannot deal with. Period. That's why I don't do a lot of the casual sex and dating. Like, that's a, you know, people misuse the word trigger, but in this context, that is what, like, anxiety is something that is like a switch, and it can be triggered. So you have to learn what your anxious behaviors are in order for you to start to address them. And like I said, for a lot of us, it's our impulsivity. So think about when you feel pressured to make a choice, and you really need to give yourself some more time and be a little bit more patient with yourself when it comes to making important decisions, or just decisions in general. So for anybody that would like more resources on anxiety, exploring it, feel free to hit me up on any of my social medias, and we can talk about it further. That's something that, like I said, I'm extremely proud of where I am with my anxiety. A lot of it for me is just situational. You know, if I think something is about to go left, my heart get to racing. But I'm so much better at being able to just acknowledge my symptoms and deal with them in a healthy way versus letting the symptoms deal with me. Okay? So be kind to somebody. You don't know what anybody is going through. And have a good evening.